Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's session on retirement planning, building financial and emotional security for the future. My name is Aramide. I'm the convener of the Niger Startups Business Leader Network. A little bit about us. We are a business leader network for entrepreneurs, professionals, policymakers. What we do is provide access to opportunities, peer mentorship, capacity building, and different programs for our members. You can find out more about us. We will put the website in the chat box. If you haven't shared where you're joining us from, please do. But I'll be kicking off now without further ado and introducing our special guest speaker today. Mrs. Inyang Sami-Orungbe's corporate works life has taken her through organizations like IBTC Limited, which is now Stanbic IBTC, and Crusader Sterling Pensions, where she was a pioneer head of marketing. She also worked with Guarantee Trust Group, that Assure Asset Management Limited, a subsidiary of GT Assurance, which is now AXA Mansard, as the head of business development, managing high net worth clients. She's an independent member and chairman of the investment committee of the mutual funds for RMB Nigeria Asset Management Limited, a subsidiary of Rand Merchant Bank. She's a certified retirement life coach from Retirement Life Plan, and we're very much looking forward to learning a lot about that today. She's currently the managing partner and co-founder of Averti Professional Managers, an all-female business solutions agency. Wow. Also known as the Retirement Planning Queen, Mrs. Inyang is the founder of the BloomBox Platform, where she functions as a retirement expert, facilitating and coaching on retirement planning. She has facilitated many retirement planning workshops in the public and private sector. She's also a well-to-do sought-after speaker on this subject matter. She's a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, fellow of the National Institute of Marketing of Nigeria, and a council member of the Learning and Development Network International. We are so honored to have you join us. Please give her a round of applause wherever you are. You're very welcome, and to Inyang, as we popularly like to call you in the network. Over to you, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Aramide. Thank you for having me to talk about one of my favorite subjects. And I'm so delighted that we have quite a number of people joining us, and I feel that a lot more will join us soon. So let's kick off, and I'm going to share my screen, right, for us to discuss this all very important topic. Okay, so today we are talking, and please let me know, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So building financial and emotional security for our future, okay? This evening, I want us, to begin by first recognizing a crucial reality, right? And that is that retirement planning is more urgent than ever before. Life expectancy has significantly increased, meaning that many of us face possibly 30 or more years, after we finish our working life. And so this extended period requires careful financial preparation to maintain the quality of life that we desire. And many of us will say, oh, we don't want our standard of living to drop below what we are currently enjoying. Cool. But what are we going to do to make that happen? And we also find that economic conditions are constantly shifting. And we do have to also embrace that. For a start, inflation can and has in some cases slowly eroded the value of savings. And what we find is that traditional pension systems are often insufficient to cover long retirement. Gone are those days when our parents will retire and say, oh, they're going to be enjoying their pension. That won't cut it anymore. So this makes relying solely on those models pretty risky, okay? But looking on the brighter side, new financial tools and investment options have emerged, okay? These offer greater opportunities, to grow our retirement assets. However, these options kind of also add layers of complexity, and sometimes the understanding is not there. but we have to be proactive about this planning after all said and done. So the key takeaway here, right, is to understand that retirement is no longer just about reaching a specific age. I would say that rather retirement is a comprehensive life strategy, one that requires us to think, pretty holistically about how we support ourselves financially for decades beyond our working years. Like I said, it could be 2, 3, or 4 decades for all we know, okay? But what's the African reality? Because this pension thing is not something that, for us, there are other ways we have lived, where we rely on, say, business income, not, our pensions. Because in some countries, you don't have that. So retirement planning can look pretty different, based on maybe the model that is in place in that country, right? In Nigeria, we were blessed to have a very good pension scheme, the contributory pension scheme, but most people still rely heavily on income from their own businesses or informal work, which is why we're finding that the informal sector hasn't even embraced the pension scheme. They haven't thought of, coming, despite the micro pension, model that PENCOM has introduced. So, but another important factor, right, is that strong sense of family and community responsibility. Because we always feel that, oh, there will always be people to look out for us. And yes, most times there are, but like I said, economic realities are pretty different now. And so we have to take charge of these things. We know that many individuals, this extended family thing, some people just don't support themselves. They have extended family, they have dependents, and all this can create financial pressure, both during your working years and in retirement. Okay. But the dominance of informal financial systems can kind of pose some risk, because without formal structures, there's that high chance of wealth leakage. I mean, when you have so many dependents, so many people that are just looking up to you, where do you draw the line? How do you then secure your own retirement funds? Because money can be lost or mismanaged, okay? Sorry. Can you still see my screen? Can you hear me?
We can see you, but we can't see your slides.
I thought, yes, because I kind of pinched my screen and something went haywire. Just give me a minute. I'll be right back. Let me fix that.
Yeah, we've not been able to see the slides from the start.
Yeah, that's what I want to fix now. Can you see?
No, you may need to share.
No,
Tap on
no,
share
I'm going to,
screen.
yeah. Yes, I'm going to do that again. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay, I know what happened. I know what happened. Just give me a minute. Okay, so like I was, saying, what you find in, Africa, and it's, of course, it's quite common, and we do have them even in our families, I bet, where there's so much pressure on as our money, based on the fact that we are supporting, dependent relatives and all that. You can see my screen now, right? Hmm?
Not yet.
Okay, that's really odd. Please pardon me. Pardon my lack of tech. Okay. Okay, yeah, I see that. You said you can't see my screen. I'm going to share it again. Please excuse my lack of tech. Okay, I'm back now. I can see my screen now.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Thanks for your patience. All right, so where were we? So we're talking about, the reliance, on pensions and the fact that our dependents can be a source of wealth leakage to us. So, and I also know that very few of us have estate plans. I mean, one of the things that, I baffles me every single time by virtue of the work I do, when I ask in a room, how many people have a will? I mean, first there's a nervous laughter, and then you then find that, just nervously a few hands, come up because we just feel that because of the support system we have, things would always work in our favor, but that's not the case because what we could find is that this could lead to disputes, amongst those that we leave behind. And then subsequently, the loss of family assets, which will further complicate financial security across generations. So understanding this reality is quite important to developing the right retirement strategies that will work in your own context. Take account of these unique social and economic dynamics and know how you're going to, handle your own case. All right, so now we want to talk about, hmm, this is important, core pillars of retirement planning. First of all, because finances underpin the quality of retirement that we're likely to have, it's important for us to develop a savings culture. That discipline is hard because if you leave it up to yourself to say, oh, every month I'm going to put aside 50,000, you will try, but I can bet you that some months you will not be able to. So I think it's important that we set up automated and consistent contributions, that would ensure steady growth over time, right? And so this makes savings rather solid rather than being an afterthought, okay? Second, pension remains pretty important, and in Nigeria is more or less mandatory now, especially for the formal sector. Where possible, it's crucial to maximize your contributions to your retirement savings account. And I would advise that you consider voluntary top-ups, right, to increase your retirement nest egg. By this, I mean, if you can, in addition to what the law says you should contribute and your employer contributes, or if you are the employer here, what you contribute and then, your employee contributes, also look at the possibility of opening an additional voluntary contribution account so that it can be run side by side with your RSA. This would increase your retirement nest egg, like I said. Thirdly is investments. The advice would always be to diversify across multiple asset classes, such as, of course, stocks, bonds, real estate, and there's some alternative investments. All this help to manage risk while maintaining, good returns for us. Fourth, like I just said, estate planning. This cannot be overlooked. So creating wills, trusts, assigning power of attorney where necessary, all this assure that your assets are protected and smoothly transferred according to your wishes in the event, that something happens. Finally, risk management. And this is where sometimes some of us, I bit insurance. I mean, paying premium. What if nothing happens? Or question, what if something happens? Okay. Because risk management covers the, use of insurance products. It helps you to bounce back in the event that something happens, and also the idea of maintaining emergency funds, for those days where, the unplanned happens, and life does happen. That's not when you want to go and break your investment, to handle emergency situations. So I would always recommend an emergency fund. All this, help to protect your financial plan from unexpected setbacks, which can happen, and they safeguard both you and your family during retirement. So altogether, these pillars form a comprehensive framework that would guide us towards a secure and sustainable retirement. Because like I said, you do need the money. Okay. In terms of wealth management and investment, right? When it comes to building wealth, you need to understand, that your investment options are key, and different people have different, risk appetite. So the advice would always be to invest local and invest global. Where you're talking about, dividends, yield, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Sometimes, ETFs, I'm not doing all those because I don't do ETFs. I don't understand it. So yeah, but where you have a good understanding and you are, comfortable with it, why not? Some people have, very large appetites, for risk, and the younger you are, the better, as they always say. So all this will provide, various risk and return profiles, and they allow you to kind of tailor your portfolio to your own goals. So it's quite, self, how do I put it, oriented. Real estate is another valuable asset class to consider. You can do this directly by just purchasing property, or you can, jointly own, or purchase with partners, but make sure you have done all the due diligence, done your legal paperwork, and you are very comfortable with that. Entrepreneurship and side ventures or hustles would also usually offer a way to generate additional income and build assets, outside of the traditional investment, methods that we know. This approach will diversify your income sources and will add, to your growth potential. Finally, you have passive income. These streams of income, like dividends from shares, like I said, I mean, if you're buying stocks, make sure it's dividend yielding ones. Dividends from shares, rental income, from property. In some cases, if you're in the creative, space, you may be earning royalties, and those are solid sources of passive income. So if you explore all this, right, and combine these options, working with a financial advisor, if you don't have the competence and you're not a professional, all this can create a well-rounded portfolio that will support long-term financial security. Because when you are, saving for your retirement, which is your much later years, you do have to have all this in place. But I want to talk about the power of starting early, because this is one of the most powerful factors in successful retirement planning. And what I have read, I mean, research shows that, and even in my experience, when you talk to existing retirees or people that are about to retire, one of the greatest regrets they have is that they didn't start early. And by starting early means that the financial aspect, they did start saving on time. Because for you to have a successful retirement planning, it's good to start early. And of course, thanks to, compounding growth, your money, would grow exponentially over time. And it's important to remember that consistent small savings made regularly would often outperform, that large bam, that sum of contribution, because compounding, rewards time in the market, and that's just the truth. So 50,000 a month over God knows how many years, right? I mean, It's much better than saying, oh, I have 1 million this year. Okay, next year, maybe I'll have 10 million. Then, staggering it like that. And when you are saving at the same pace, you can actually even project, what will come to you. So my advice would always be start early. Also, it gives more flexibility because if your circumstances change, I mean, if you're doing, for example, 50,000 a month, you are that person that can say, okay, now I can afford to do 100,000 a month, right? Or if the market shifts and you have time to adjust your strategy, it helps you to recover from setbacks if you start early. Starting early ensures the ability to course correct, as time goes on. So in essence, the sooner you start, the greater your potential to build a secure and comfortable retirement. So now I want us to look at intergenerational wealth and legacy, because when we come into that phase of life, some things are not just about us anymore. So building wealth for retirement is just one part of the story, right? Just as important is how we pass that wealth, to the next generation. You couldn't have worked all this while for everything, to go up in smoke. So effective tools like wills, trusts, for some people, family constitutions, holding companies, all this help to create clear structures that will protect and manage your assets over time. Equally important is teaching our children, our heirs, financial literacy, because we need to prepare our family to understand and be able to responsibly manage the wealth that they inherit. Otherwise, God forbid that everything, would disintegrate after you are gone. You want to avoid that. And our children should understand and avoid that sudden wealth syndrome where they just come into wealth and it gets into their head. And inheritances can be lost, quite quickly due to poor decisions made, in that mode. So ultimately, the goal here is to build lasting structures that would preserve and grow our wealth, not just accumulate assets, but be able to outlive us. If you do it this way to support your legacy, and it empowers generations after you, to live a sustainable life. So in bringing it to a close, right? Common pitfalls we should avoid. We've talked about starting early, right? So waiting too long to start is something we should avoid. The saying goes that the best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is now. I think, yeah, I don't want to sound cliche, but actually that is the truth. So when planning for retirement, it's important to be aware of these pitfalls, because they could jeopardize our financial security. Like I said, waiting too long to start saving and investing, it kind of reduces the benefits of time and compounding, like we said. Another risk is being over reliant on one asset. Take, for example, oh, I only do real estate. God forbid that something happens in that sector, it leaves you in the lurch. Okay, so over reliance on a single asset is risky, and this lack of diversification can expose you to unnecessary risk if that asset class underperforms. So you will lose money. And again, many people also overlook critical factors like inflation, taxes, currency risks. And I actually wonder that in a place like Nigeria, can you be that person that would, overlook inflation and currency risk? We are all seeing the damages, it's doing to our portfolios. Just by way of a little digression, there are some retirees now that a few years ago, let's say 10 years ago, they were in a solid place. When it came to their finances, they had done an excellent retirement budget and they were in a good place. Guess what? Right now, many of them are struggling. Why? Inflation, currency risk. I mean, they've been thrown into, a difficult place. So all this, if we don't take care of them, they can erode, the real value of our savings, if we don't manage them properly. And failing to have an estate plan, this increases the potential for family conflicts and asset erosion after we are gone. We don't want that. And then, of course, lifestyle creep, where spending increases faster than income. I mean, the low life, you don't want to do that, okay? It's important to plan and track and stay on track and be resilient about it. So for today, right, for practical strategies, I would recommend that to strengthen our retirement plan, like I said, we should start today, right? One, consider, some of these strategies. One, automate savings if you can, where it's not up to you to debit an account and credit another account. Don't trust yourself that much, okay? Just automate it. At this time every month, whatever I have in this account, so and so amount goes into this account. So it's just happening seamlessly without your human intervention, okay? If you can, please top up your pension. Some of us apparently are able to, but maybe we just haven't gotten around to it. A situation where you know that, okay, take for example, your contribution from your employer and your own contribution, 10% and 8%, right? 18% of your total emolument. And you feel that you could actually maybe do 100,000 more from your salary every month. I would advise that with your PFA, you go and open an AVC, an additional voluntary contribution account, so that is managed along with your RSA. And I mean, you enjoy the same investment strategies and all that. So the idea here is that you would then tell your HR every month as they transfer your 8% and add their 10% to the PFA. You also have an AVC, which you want, say, 100,000 from your salary transfer to that AVC, so that this is done seamlessly. It would really help, because that automation, also removes that risk of temptation, because I mean, we're all human beings, right? Of course, diversify investments across, risk levels. Like I said, everybody has their own risk appetite. So you go speak with your financial advisor and tell them. The most important thing is to clarify what your financial goals are. I mean, this money, I want it to kick in for me in 20 years' time, for example. Then it gives them an idea of how to, manage your portfolio. I would always advise that you engage professionals, for this. You have financial advisors, you have coaches, you have estate lawyers, for your, estate planning. Their expertise would help to tailor your strategies to your unique situation, and it will keep your plan aligned. Whether laws change or markets change, or market conditions change, your goal will be well understood. Okay. Right. So talking about retirement beyond money, because a lot of times there's so much emphasis on the financial aspect of retirement planning. Oh, I need to save, I need to save, I need to invest. You definitely need to. But one of the things we are now finding is that even where the financial comfort is in place, there are other things that can jeopardize your retirement. And that is now talking about, the soft side of retirement, your health and wellness. If you don't have a good plan in place, God forbid, things can go wrong. So when we think about retirement, we should realize that things like health and wellness, things like, what's my purpose? Because for some of us, I just robbed us of, our purpose. Who am I? What defines me? What do I love doing? Like I always say, I mean, when you retire, you go from a who is who to a who are you. Because when you are not able to walk into a place and say, oh, I'm the MD of this, I'm the GM, you can't be introducing yourself as former AGM, former ED, former no. The question is, no, start introspecting, look at yourself. Who am I now? Okay. So like I said, it's time to explore, your purpose beyond work. Okay. Whether it's going to be through your hobbies, your passion. For some of us, it can actually be through a second act. I mean, I tell people that what I do now is my second career, is my second act. I haven't always been a retirement coach, so this is something I've come into, but guess what? I have found my sweet spot, right? And that really energizes me. So the idea now is looking outside of work. What else would define you? And it's important to start, having those conversations now with your family members, with friends, just sort of discover yourself. Who am I? So that you can have this balance wheel of retirement readiness. So when your health and wellness is down pat, and that would include things like, what will I do? I mean, to make sure that I'm still energized and my body's in top form. Have you always gone to the gym? Maybe not. Maybe this is the time to do that. Do you have your health check every year? You should, because now you want to start taking an interest in yourself. You want to ensure that this body that you are using to work for so and so company would also be available to work for you, when you step out of that company. So take that really seriously. Try to find your purpose, hobbies. What are the things you love doing? What are the things that you feel your work now is robbing you of? The things you've always wanted to do? Because I hear people say, I mean, I was a fantastic photographer, I was a fantastic this, but I mean, in the how many years I was working, there was no time to do that. So start thinking, because the strategy here should be, start looking at what am I retiring to, as against what am I retiring from? Once you retire, don't look back. The idea is, I mean, what am I going to retire to? What will I be defined as? Who will I be then? And very importantly, community and networks. Stay connected with community and nurture networks that would help you to combat isolation. I mean, I know most of us here are pretty far from that, but I will still tell you that isolation can be an issue because, again, research shows that when people retire, they may lose up to 70% of their contacts. So right now, begin to think, which communities am I going to, use to replace my work community? So, I mean, am I going to join this club, a gym, a wellness club, a book club, where you get to meet people and, expand your network? It's really important for a balanced and happy retirement life. So as we close, what's my call to action? Like I said, the best time to plan was yesterday, as cliche as that sounds, and the next best time is now. Don't wait any longer to take control of your financial future. So by acting today, you can, secure your future, protect your family, very important, and build a lasting legacy. Remember that retirement planning is not just about money, it's about peace of mind and the freedom to live life on our own terms. So that is my charge to us all this evening. Thank you very much. I'd like to take questions now, if any.
Thank you so much. That was so enlightening. Just taking notes and notes and notes. Thank you. I can see in the chat all the comments. Please, we'd like to take a few questions from the audience. Nothing is too silly a question. Please share questions. Any questions? You can put in the chat, or if you want to ask live, you can raise your hand up and we'll unmute you. Okay. What are the top 10 estate planning agencies in Nigeria? It's from Daniel.
Okay. Okay, Daniel, let me just say that by virtue of the work that I do, I have, because I coach, I have some alliances. I may not be able to mention up to 10, not because I don't know them, but because I just want to stick with people, organizations or institutions that I work with and I can vouch for, right? So for me, number one is Stanbic IBTC trustees for sure. One, I mean, as we still have relationship, and whenever I have gatherings, they are the people that I work with. So we have a very strong alliance. United Capital is another one that I would also, beat my chest, FSDH and Coronation, and I will stop there.
Yeah, right. It's always good to mention the ones you have a reference point with, because we can also vouch for them. Thank you for that. Bubemi asks, is it better to have voluntary pension contributions
Yeah.
or seek for other investment vehicles like mutual funds?
You know, the when your funds are being invested by the PFAs, there are many asset classes that Pencom allows them to. And because these are professionals, so mutual funds, for example, is just a portion of the basket, right? So their job is to make sure that they are running your investment to at least outperform inflation. I was very excited to hear today that the new guideline from Pencom finally has welcomed dollar denominated investment in mutual funds, which is really good because people have been clamoring for it for quite a long time. So I would say you should still keep your AVC with your PFA so that they can manage your funds side by side with the funds in your RSA. You may then, if you have maybe some more, maybe get mutual funds, and I will recommend Rand asset management again because I know them and their mutual funds are doing really good, especially the dollar denominated one. So it's really up to you. None is better than the other, but I would always recommend an AFC. Why? Because somehow, because we are talking retirement planning, it gives you that long-term horizon. The goal here is that this money is going to kick in with your RSA, all things being equal. So that already gives you that focus. So that's my take, Ruben.
Thank you for
Okay,
that.
somebody's asking.
Please, how safe are
Sorry,
money market investments?
I'll allow
Foluke.
you.
Oh, sorry. Foluke is asking, how safe are money market investments?
Money market investments are very safe, almost too safe, because right now most of them, in terms of the yield, not very strong. So when you're looking at long-term funds, is one of the safest, of course, in addition to treasury bills, government bonds, and all that. I would say money market investments are very safe, especially
Okay.
if you deal with particular institutions,
Daniel wants to ask
because
again.
it's the
Thank you, sir.
institutions that usually guarantee the safety.
Okay. Daniel says the top five security organizations where one can keep investing, especially the proactive ones. This is really on a roll. It's very deep.
Daniel, we can actually talk after this. But like I said, I mean, those are the institutions I would recommend. Again, for me, relationships are also important because you it helps you to understand sometimes, what they call facts behind the figures, somebody holding your hand, and you can actually, have one-on-one with the people to understand, because some organizations or institutions don't give you that opportunity to even sit with somebody. There's nothing like sitting with somebody, understanding my investment goals. I mean, why have I brought this money to you? What do you want to do with it? Ask me questions that will help me understand that you understand where I'm going with my funds, if you know what I mean. Yes, those are the sort of institutions I would always work with and recommend. Yeah. But like I said, Daniel, we can hook up after this and we can have a little chat. Yes. I
Chooks
don't
is
want to
asking.
advertise institutions. Yes.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. Chooks is asking, what's your advice to those starting late and will be retiring in a couple of years? What should be their focus to achieve a good retirement? That's a great question.
It's a great question, Chooks. There's nothing like late because you've not retired yet. So the question you should ask yourself now, what do I have access to that can help me quickly, use to augment what I've been doing? Because augmentation is really important at this point. So, and also where I'm investing, because now you're going to have to look at the options that you have, the different choices, and the discipline that you can deploy to, put yourself under pressure to save and invest more if you are not already there, and what conversions can happen. I mean, maybe you're sitting on a property that, I mean, for example, if you don't have a huge family, for example, you are living in a big mansion, and many of us have made that mistake where we build these humongous places and all that. But maybe you're about to retire, which will most likely mean that your family is also shrinking, where some children have left home and all that. Do you want to sell that property and buy something smaller, which would immediately give you access to some chunk of money for you to add to what you're currently investing? And then if you have any debts, I mean, I'm sorry I didn't mention that if you have any debt, it's very important to do all you can to pay up all debt, especially the high interest debt, so that you are not using your retirement funds to service debts. So that, I mean, whatever you are then getting, that, well, I mean, you see how to manage it, because the debt is also another dangerous pitfall that some of us get into. So that's what I have to advise. I hope that helps, Chooks.
Thank you. Final question. What age should we say is the retirement age? This is ignoring government policies. I guess it's the Nigerian government he's referring to, policies on age.
It This is such it's an individual choice, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought the network was being funny. It's really up to you. Of course, the government retirement age is 60, right? I mean, for people in public service and all that. However, I mean, I've spoken with people who tell me they want to retire at 45. It's totally your choice, right? I mean, I don't want to be working for anybody anymore. I am ready financially, I'm ready, emotionally, I'm ready. So go for it. So I would always advise that, well, whatever makes you happy. Honestly, there's no recommended age. I've had people that retired at 60 and then went back into to work life. Why? Most of the reasons though for that usually that they didn't have enough financially. But in terms of, if you are good and you're in a solid financial place, maybe you just want to do both cruises for the rest of your life. However, I also know that the millennials I have, in my network, most of them want to retire from active work to do things that, are impact oriented. So that could be your thrill. So age is really up to you, Daniel. But
Wonderful.
if you have money in your RSA, sorry, let me just add that if you have money in your retirement savings account under the current contributory pension scheme, you can't access the funds until you are 50, at least. In which case, you can actually maybe access 25% of whatever is in your retirement savings account balance. So,
Is this for just Nigeria?
yes, for Nigeria, I said that, yeah,
Okay.
our contributory pension scheme, yeah.
Age 50. Okay. Okay. If there are no more questions, how can we join your network? How can we contact you? Can you please share details?
Yes, I can. Let me share my contact details. I think I have, because I don't know why I anticipated this question. So it's just as well. Email address is the BloomBox Platform at gmail.com. My website is www.thebloomboxplatform.com. I'm on Instagram as Sami-Orungbe and at the BloomBox Platform, and on Facebook, my name Inyang Sami-Orugnbe and the BloomBox Platform. Yeah.
Thank you
So
so
you can
much. We have
follow me
one more.
for more timing nuggets.
Okay, one more
Okay.
question. She says, what if she's accessed 25% when unemployed? Which happens? What age can she fully access it?
Access the 25%.
She's already
At
accessed 25. Yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, can you now fully access it when you are now 50? No, but no, you would never be paid the bulk sum of your retirement benefits. No. The pension scheme does not work like that. The 25% usually presumes the fact that, oh, I mean, things happen, or maybe you're unemployed for more than 6 months, so you took it. Whatever is left in your RSA, when you get to the age of 50 and you submit your document, you only have two options at that point. One, to sign up for what they call program withdrawal, which is that out of this, I want to be paid every month, whatever you do to me from my balance. Or you take out the entire sum, go to an insurance company and buy an annuity for the full 75% of what is left. Again, the idea is that every month you will get a certain amount. So the pension scheme does not allow that you can collect your entire lump sum and go do what you want with it. No, that won't happen. So I hope that answers your question, Foluke.
Very interesting. Thank you so much on behalf of the network. Okay. Yes, somebody's asking, do you have services for clients outside of Nigeria? This is the last question, but it's a good one.
Yes, yes, a good one. I do. I have clients, specifically right now, I have clients in Canada. But
Okay.
let's talk about it, Titi. Let's see what we can do. Yeah. Thank you
And
for
for
that
those wanting to
question.
access we'll have the replay up on YouTube. You can access the slides and you can definitely connect with her through the contact information. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to our next session. Have a good one. Thank you.
Okay, good night,
Maybe
everyone.
maybe
Thank you for having me.
we can write to her with the rest of the questions if we have other questions. I'll put the
Yeah, please
BloomBox
send me an
platform at
email.
Gmail. Yeah, put it in the chat.
Yes.com.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Thank you.
All right. Good night.